Hello everyone, myself Suryadipta Acharji, and I am going to deliver a lecture on a few of the topics for computer networks. These are basically on ARP, RARP, inverse ARP, proxy ARP and gratuitous ARP. So before starting with this thing, ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. ARP protocol is a communicational protocol used to discovering physical address associated with the given network address. Typically, ARP is a network layer to data link layer mapping process, which is used to discover MAC address of given internet protocol address. In order to send the data to destination, having IP address is necessary but not sufficient. We also need the physical address of the destination machine. ARP is used to get the physical address of the destination machine. Before sending the IP packet, the MAC address of the destination must be known. If not so, the sender broadcasts the ARP discovery packet requesting the MAC address of the intended destination. Since ARP discovery is broadcast, every host inside the network will get this message, but sending the packet will be discarded by everyone except the intended receiver whose IP is associated. Now this receiver will send a unicast packet to its MAC address to the sender for ARP discovery packet. After the original sender receives the ARP reply, it updates ARP cache and starts sending unicast message to the destination. Now stands for Reverse Address Resolution Protocol or RARP. RARP is a networking protocol used by the client machine in a local area network to request the Internet Protocol address or IPv4 from the gateway router's ARP table. The network administrator creates a table in the gateway router, which is used to map the MAC address of the corresponding IP address. When a new machine is set up, or any machine which doesn't have memory to store the IP address needs an IP address for its own use. So the machine sends a RARP broadcast packet which contains its own MAC address in both sender and the receiver hardware address field. A special host configuration inside the local area network called RARP server is responsible for reply these kind of broadcast packets. Now the RARP server attempts to find out the entry in IP MAC address mapping table. If any entry machines in the table, RARP servers sends the response packet to the requesting device along with the IP address. Now the LAN technologies like Ethernet, Ethernet 2, token ring or fiber distribution supports the address resolution protocol. RARP is not being used in today's network because we have much great featured protocols like BOOTP, Bootstrap protocol, and DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol, available with us now. Third point, Inverse Address Resolution Protocol. Instead of using a layer 3, that is IP address, to find the MAC address, Inverse ARP uses MAC address to find IP addresses. As this the name suggests, InARP or inverse ARP is just inverse of the ARP. Reverse ARP has been replaced by BOOTP and later DHCP. By inverse ARP, it's solely used for device configuration. Inverse ARP is enabled by the default in ATM or asynchronous transfer mode networks. InARP or inverse ARP is used to find the layer 3 address from layer 2 address, like DLCI in frame relay. Inverse ARP dynamically map local DHCIs or remote IP addresses when you configure frame delay. When using inverse ARP, we know the DLCI or remote router but don't know its IP address. In ARP, sends a request to obtain the IP address and map it to layer 2 frame relay DLCI. Now coming back to the next point, Proxy ARP. Proxy ARP was implemented to enable devices which are separated into network segments connected by a router in the same IP network or subnetwork to resolve IP address of the MAC address. When devices are not in the same data link layer but are in the same IP network, they try to transmit data to each other as if they were not locally connected. However, the router that separates the devices will not send a broadcast message because routers do not pass hardware layer broadcasts. Therefore, the addresses cannot be resolved. Proxy ARP is enabled by the default, so the proxy router that resides between the local network responds with its MAC address as if were the router in which the broadcast address is addressed. When the sending device receives the MAC address of the proxy router, it sends the datagram to the proxy router, which in turn sends the datagram to the designated device. So proxy ARP is related with proxy routing. Next, Gratuitous ARP. Gratuitous ARP resolution protocol is used in advanced network scenarios. It is something performed by the computer while booting up. When the computer booted up for the first time, it automatically broadcasts the MAC address to the entire network. After Gratuitous ARP MAC address to the computers is known to every switch that allows DHCP servers to know whether the sends the IP address is required or not. Gratuitous ARP could mean both gratuitous ARP request and gratuitous ARP reply, but not needed in all cases. Gratuitous ARP requests a packet where source and designated IP address are both set up IP of the machines using the packet, and the designated MAC address is broadcast address is ff.ff.ff.ff.ff.ff. That means the last hexadecimal number of the series with 14 combinations, and no reply packet will occur. Gratuitous ARP is ARP reply that was not promoted by an ARP request. Gratuitous ARP resolution protocol is useful to detect IP conflict. Gratuitous ARP is also used to update the ARP mapping table and switch port of MAC addresses. Now, last but not the least point is, what is ARP poisoning or ARP spoofing? ARP spoofing is the type of network attack which the attacker sends the falsified ARP request over the LAN, which request connecting attacker's MAC address to the legitimate server on the victim's network. Now the attacker will start receiving the data from was intended for the IP addresses. With the help of ARP poisoning, attacker is able to intercept data frames, modify traffic, and even stop the data in transit. ARP poisoning can act as the opening for major attacks such as man in the middle, denial of service, or session hijacking attacks. So we will later discuss about ARP spoofing in our next session. So far, it's all from my side. Thank you for listening to this audio. See you in the next session. Have a nice day. Bye bye.